Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching or listening to us from. You're welcome to Stock Team, the Investors Channel. Today, the 4th of March 2025. Before we go ahead, let's just make our usual disclaimer. Every information shared on this channel is for information and education purpose only. So do not do anything or buy any of the stock that we mention on this channel without you speaking to your financial advisor or doing your own due diligence. On that note, we thank everyone for joining us today. We thank you for subscribing and joining our channel. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe, put on your notification bell. Also join our community on X. It is at Stockerteam Live, at Stockerteam Live on X. That's where we bring you all the breaking news that actually move the market and, of course, your portfolio, your investment portfolio. So today, we are going to go a bit academic, but I'm going to make it as practical as possible. So the market has really been on a very, very unpredictable turn, at least in the last 2 weeks. The market has really been neither here nor there. As a matter of fact, the market really has been more negative than positive. Last Friday, we had a positive move, but yesterday, Monday, it was very negative, and today, we seem to be having a mixed bag. So the market started very negative. As a matter of fact, the S&P 500 went as low as 1.5%, and now it seems we are having a rebound. But I wouldn't have to actually flog the news that you already have access to. It is all about the tariff war that President Trump has kickstarted, at least in the last 1 month. He suspended the tariff war, and now he's actually implementing the tariff as early as today. Canada has also retaliated by announcing almost exact tariff against imports from the US. So what exactly should you be doing, and how should you be repositioning your portfolio? But what I'm going to do today is a bit more specific. A whole lot of people, a whole lot of the questions, a whole lot of feedback that I've had is actually what exactly is going on? What exactly is President Trump trying to do? To what extent is this going to affect the financial markets? How should they reposition their portfolio? But it is better to actually understand what is going on before we can understand the consequences on the financial markets and as well our individual portfolio. So today I'll be doing a bit of specific analysis of what I think is going on, what I think President Trump is trying to achieve, whether it's going to work, and how exactly should you be reacting if at all you have to react. So come with me. So the first thing I will actually want us to look at, especially why is President Trump doing this, and what exactly is behind this thought pattern, and why he escalated the tariff war. Because as an investor, if you don't actually understand the bigger headline, how it trickles down to your individual portfolio, you could actually be making wrong decision in the short to mid term, and in the long term, you actually lose out on gains, you lose out on the returns you should be making, and at the end of the day, you get very much frustrated and you think, oh, the stock market, the financial market is not worth it. So the first thing that I believe is behind the thought pattern of President Trump is that the economic policy and inflation management is really something he has to step in, especially now that the US, even up till now, the inflation rate is still very high. So President Trump believes that high interest rates is an obstacle to economic growth. If you actually remember, when he came to office, he actually said, oh, he expects that the Federal Reserve, which is the US version of the central bank, should actually reduce interest rates. The Federal Reserve is not going to actually reduce interest rates because the president says so. They will reduce interest rates if the inflation continues to go downwards and unemployment is also showing some weakness. But the US economy is having record employment, even when we have weaknesses here and there. But inflation is still very, very much around. So President Trump believes that if inflation is high for too long, it's going to be very tough for him to actually, deliver on his economic plan. And if businesses continue to actually price in 3 to 5% inflation, employees will also expect that they should be paid close to about 3 to 4% in terms of increase in wages. So this cycle, if it is not broken, it is actually going to make inflation or higher inflation to remain with the US economy and vis-a-vis the global economy for the long term. So the goal of President Trump is that he's trying to actually use an emergency approach to bring inflation down very quickly. Now, the second thing you have to also look at is, a lot of people are looking at, okay, is this a market manipulation and capital manipulation or capital allocation moves by people close to President Trump, people who are benefiting from the ups and down moves? Because what a whole lot of retail investors don't actually understand is, when the market is doing very poorly, a lot of investors make more money. When the market also is doing very well, a lot of investors, especially the big time institutional investors, the hedge funds, they make much more money. So a whole lot of people are actually having the theory that some advisors are speculating and they are intentionally, advising President Trump to put in place these tariffs, which actually end up benefiting them. But is this something that is actually factual? Is this something that we can actually hang on? But as an investor, you shouldn't be basing your decisions on conspiracies. So let's move forward. So to an extent, some other people also see this as a political strategy. Because President Trump does not actually have a second term, he is still going to just focus on what he's going to be doing. Even if it doesn't have a second term, there is the collateral damage that the party that brought him to power for the second time might actually lose the midterm elections. So if it doesn't actually start bringing inflation down and a whole lot of the interest rates start coming down, the Federal Reserve, the Democrats could take control of the Congress. There could be more political moves to investigate him. So the strategy is that it's better that it takes that economic pain in the earliest moment, so that the recovery phase will have been, very, very visible before the next election. And when there is lower inflation, inflation rate in the near term will actually come down. This might actually sound very academic, very, very, to an extent, maybe a bit philosophical or, very, very abstract. But these are the things that actually determine what happens to your portfolio. So let's move forward. The housing market in the US is actually in a very, very slow period. Inflation rates has actually affected mortgage rates. A whole lot of people aren't taking new mortgages when, interest rates for those mortgages are now about 6 to 7%. Homeowners who had older mortgages, who finance those mortgages at 2.22% or to about 3%. Many of them are not actually selling those houses, because if they have to leave those mortgages, they will be buying new property at a higher rate. So at the end of the day, if the interest rates and inflation is not addressed, it's actually going to affect the agenda of President Trump. Now, we have talked about a whole lot of, theoretical theories of what is happening, why President Trump is taking all the actions he's taking, the market manipulation angle, the inflation rate vis-a-vis mortgage rates, even the political strategy behind it, and a whole lot of other things. However, as an investor, here is what I think you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Number one, do not sell your stock if you don't actually have an emergency, a financial emergency that is about life and death. I've done series of episodes where I showed charts that actually showed that the S&P 500 is always going up. Even when the market pulls back, the S&P 500, which is the most important index that tracks the top 500 companies quoted on the US stock market, even when the market pulls back, during the global recession in 2007, 2008, the COVID pandemic, the dot-com bubble, the Russian-Ukraine invasion, the market comes back and breaks new record to the upside. So do not sell your stock if you do not actually have an emergency that is about life and death. Also, if you have bought some stocks and you bought them at a higher average price, this is the best opportunity for you to actually reduce your average price by averaging down. Averaging down means you are buying the stock when the stocks are now way cheaper. The third thing is a whole lot of the big Magnificent Seven stocks, the Google, which is Alphabet, Meta, Nvidia, Microsoft, even Apple to an extent, they are now getting to correction territory. So they are a bit, undervalued to an extent. And this is the best time to actually buy the stock. Even Palantir, even when the stock is still overvalued, but this stock has so much momentum that in the mid to long term, this stock is going to grow into any of the valuation that it's going to have. And lastly, if you are not selling, if you are not averaging down, if you are not buying undervalued growth stocks, just do nothing. Don't do anything. Close your stock portfolio. As a matter of fact, you just actually find out that the more you pay less attention to checking your portfolio, checking your brokerage account every time, the more things actually get better, because this is not within your control. So that is it. That is my theory of what is going on, of how you should be, positioning yourself, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing during this, very, very unpredictable times. I believe we are going to have a record rebound, and everyone who has sold their stock at loss, who are actually over trading, they are going to actually come back to buy some of these stocks at a way expensive price. And that is how, as an investor, that's how you make money in the medium to long term, by positioning yourself when the market is very bearish. Like Warren Buffett said, be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. On that note, thank you so much for watching. Please follow us on Stockatm Live at Stockatm Live on X. Subscribe to our channel, put on the notification bell, share this video to anyone who is panicking right at the moment, and let them actually learn and see what exactly and how exactly the market works. Till tomorrow when we see again, keep growing as you keep investing. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye.